What kind of person are you when no one's watching? The kind who speaks softly but thinks loudly. The kind who forgives, but never forgets. The kind who walks away, even when every part of you wants to stay. This isn't just a story, it's a mirror held up to your own quiet corners. If you've ever wondered what kind you truly are, the dreamer, the survivor, or the one still trying to make sense of it all, subscribe to the Musings and journey inward with every story. One reflection at a time. There are days when I look around and wonder what kind of people we've become, what kind I've become, and it always starts with something small, something so insignificant that it shouldn't matter, like the way someone ignores the beggar at the corner or how a friend scrolls through their phone while I talk about something that still aches, something that I thought might matter to them. It's strange how the smallest things can tell you the biggest truths about who we really are, not the curated versions we show the world, but the raw, unguarded selves that slip out when no one's watching. I used to think I was the kind who always helped, always cared, always listened. But life, in its quiet way, has a habit of showing you what you truly are, not by your best moments, but by the ones where you choose silence when you should speak, or walk away when you should stay. I remember a time, not too long ago, when I sat across from someone who meant everything to me. She was telling me how she didn't recognize herself anymore, how the laughter had faded, how every mirror reflected someone she couldn't love. And I, being me, tried to fix her, to solve her like an equation. I told her she'd be fine, that things would get better. But I never asked what she needed right then, never asked what hurt most. I wanted to be the kind who saves, but maybe I was just the kind who couldn't sit in someone else's pain without making it about my own need to help. That's the first truth the world teaches you when you start paying attention. Sometimes, being good isn't about doing something, it's about being there when there's nothing to do. The years that followed became a quiet education in kinds. The kind of love that stays, the kind that leaves, the kind that fades but never really disappears. I've seen people promise forever with trembling hands and break it with steady voices. I've seen kindness used as a disguise for guilt, and cruelty disguised as honesty. And somewhere between all that seeing, I began to wonder, what kind am I? The kind who learns, or the kind who repeats? I think of my father often when that question comes. He was a quiet man, the kind who spoke in actions. He'd wake before dawn, not because he loved mornings, but because duty was his way of loving. He believed in small kindnesses, the kind no one sees. Once, when I was a child, I saw him repair a stranger's bicycle chain on the roadside. The man thanked him, and my father just nodded, said, "If you can help, you should." I never forgot that, but somewhere along the line, I grew into someone who weighed every act of help against convenience, someone who measured compassion by time and energy. Maybe that's what adulthood does, it replaces impulse with calculation, turning kindness into a transaction we justify only if it doesn't cost us too much. Still, there are moments when that old instinct returns, fleeting but real, like when I catch someone's eyes on a bus and smile without thinking, or when I text an old friend out of nowhere. Maybe we all still have that spark, the kind of goodness that doesn't ask for an audience, but it's buried under layers of exhaustion and fear. I used to believe that people were either good or bad, kind or cruel, honest or false. But life is not a binary, it's a spectrum of moments, choices, and contradictions. The cruelest person I ever met once gave me the truest advice. The kindest person I know once walked away from someone who needed them. Maybe we're all just trying to balance our contradictions, to live somewhere between what we want to be and what we've become. The hardest part is forgiving yourself for the gap between the two. I've spent nights staring at ceilings, replaying words I shouldn't have said, silences I shouldn't have kept. Sometimes I think about calling people I've hurt and telling them I didn't mean it, but the truth is, in those moments, I did. The person I was then did. And maybe that's the real work of living, to meet every version of yourself and still choose to love them, even the unkind ones. Because kindness isn't something you are, it's something you practice, every day, in moments that no one will ever see. The world has taught me that there's a kind of kindness that asks for nothing, not even recognition. It exists in the way someone holds the door open a second longer, or how a friend sends you a meme just to make you laugh, or how a stranger lets you merge into their lane. Tiny, invisible threads holding us together, reminding us that we still can be gentle in a world that isn't. I think we forget that being kind doesn't always mean being soft. Sometimes kindness is sharp, like truth. It's saying no when someone takes too much. It's ending a friendship that drains your spirit. It's walking away from what you love because it no longer loves you back. The older I get, the more I see that being kind to others means nothing if you aren't kind to yourself. For years, I gave everyone pieces of me and wondered why I always felt empty. I thought love meant giving without boundaries. But love, real love, the kind that heals instead of harms, isn't a sacrifice, it's a sharing. And I had to learn that the hard way. The world doesn't reward quiet kindness. It celebrates performance. It wants you to post your empathy, hashtag your compassion, monetize your goodness. And somewhere in all that noise, real kindness gets lost. But I've also seen people, ordinary people, who carry the world on their backs without ever asking for applause. The single mother who works 2 jobs but still smiles at her child's teacher. The friend who checks in on everyone but never mentions their own pain. The man who forgives a debt that will never be repaid. Those are the kinds who hold the world together while the rest of us are too busy pretending. I wonder what kind of world it would be if we all tried to be more like them, even just for a day. I don't know when I started writing these musings. Maybe it was when I realized that words can make people feel seen, and that's its own kind of kindness. Every time someone messages me saying, "I thought I was the only one," I feel like maybe these words, these stories, is how I practice my kind of kindness now. Because we all have our own language for it. Some cook, some listen, some give, some forgive. The trick is to find yours and not let the world make you ashamed of it. I've learned that you can't measure kindness by its return. Sometimes you'll give and never receive, love and never be loved back, forgive and never be forgiven. But still, you give, love, forgive, not because others deserve it, but because you do. Because that's the kind of person you've decided to be. Life will test that decision again and again. There will be people who take advantage, people who twist your kindness into weakness, people who leave you questioning whether it's worth it. And you'll be tempted to harden. But please don't. The world already has enough people who've stopped trying. Be the kind who still believes, who still tries, even when it hurts. Because in the end, the measure of a life isn't how much you've been loved, it's how much you've dared to love, despite it all. And maybe, just maybe, that's what I've been trying to say all along. That being kind isn't about what kind you are, it's about choosing, again and again, to be the better kind, even when the world gives you every reason not to. Every scar you carry, every lesson you've learned, every moment you've stood up after falling, that's your proof. You're the kind who endures. The kind who still believes in softness, in laughter, in beginnings. And that's enough. That's everything. Because when all the noise fades, when the days grow quiet, and you're left alone with your thoughts, the question will always come back: what kind were you? The answer will not be in your words, but in the lives you've touched without knowing. And maybe, when someone remembers you, it won't be for your success or strength, but for the moment you made them feel less alone. That, I think, is the kind that matters most. If this story made you pause, even for a heartbeat, share it. Someone out there needs to remember that softness still exists, that kindness still matters, that they still matter. Subscribe to the Musings, and let's keep finding the kind of stories that remind us who we are, and who we're still becoming.